The betrayal of Andromeda Station. The twin suns of the Andromeda system cast their gentle light across the observation deck where Commander Sarah Chen stood. She watched construction drones weave between the station's expanding modules, adding new residential quarters for the growing human colony. 300,000 humans now called this place home, working alongside their Vraxian and Tellarite neighbors in what many considered the crown jewel of interstellar cooperation. Sarah smiled as she spotted a group of children from different species playing together in the recreational dome below. After 50 years of membership in the Galactic Council, humanity had finally found its place among the stars. The old fears and prejudices seemed like distant memories now. Her communication device chirped softly. "Commander Chen, we're detecting unusual energy signatures at the system's edge," reported Lieutenant James Park from the sensor station. Sarah frowned and moved to the command console. The readings showed multiple vessels dropping out of hyperspace, their configurations unfamiliar. "Have they transmitted identification codes?" "Negative, Commander. They're not responding to our hails." The peaceful morning shattered as the first plasma beam struck the station's outer ring. Warning klaxons screamed to life as explosions rippled through the structure. Sarah gripped the console as the deck lurched beneath her feet. "Battle stations, all personnel to emergency positions." She watched in horror as more enemy ships materialized, their hulls bearing the crimson insignia of the Krillian Empire. The attack was swift and merciless. Krillian destroyers carved through the station's defenses like butter, their advanced weapons reducing entire sections to molten debris. The civilian quarters took the worst hits, vaporized before evacuation procedures could even begin. "Commander, they're targeting the escape pods." Park's voice cracked with desperation. Sarah's heart sank as she watched the tactical display. Every launched escape pod became a brief flash of light, as Krillian fighters picked them off with surgical precision. This wasn't just an attack, it was extermination. Within 30 minutes, Andromeda Station was gone. 300,000 human lives, along with thousands of their alien friends, reduced to a spreading cloud of radioactive debris. The Krillians departed as suddenly as they had arrived, leaving only silence and death in their wake. News of the massacre reached Earth within hours. President Marcus Stone stood before the United Nations Assembly, his face carved from granite as he addressed the gathered leaders. "The unprovoked destruction of Andromeda Station represents the single greatest loss of human life since we ventured into space," Stone said, his voice steady despite the fury burning in his eyes. "We demand justice. We demand the Galactic Council hold the Krillian Empire accountable for this atrocity." Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, Dr. Amelia Rodriguez, presented their case with passionate eloquence. She displayed the sensor logs, the final transmissions from the doomed station, testimonies from the few survivors who had been off-station during the attack. The council chamber, a massive sphere floating in neutral space, hosted representatives from over 200 spacefaring civilizations. At its center sat the triumvirate, the three eldest races who governed galactic law. The Zephyrians, beings of pure energy, pulsed with indifference. The crystalline Altarians remained motionless. Only the ancient Valorians, with their gray skin and large black eyes, showed any sign of interest. "The evidence is overwhelming," Rodriguez declared. "The Krillians committed genocide. They violated every treaty, every law of civilized space. We demand sanctions, reparations, and the surrender of those responsible for trial." The Krillian ambassador, a hulking creature with 4 arms and chitinous armor, rose to speak. "Andromeda Station was conducting illegal weapons research. We acted in self-defense to protect galactic stability." "That's a lie," Rodriguez shouted. "Andromeda was a civilian colony focused on terraforming technology and cultural exchange. You murdered families, children." "Order," the Valorian triumvirate intoned. "The Council has reviewed the evidence. While the Krillian response was excessive, their concerns about human expansion are noted. The matter is closed." Rodriguez stood in stunned silence. Around her, several council members nodded in agreement, while others averted their gazes. The message was clear. Human lives didn't matter enough to risk confronting the powerful Krillian Empire. Back on Earth, President Stone convened an emergency session with world leaders. The mood in the underground bunker was grim but determined. "They've shown us where we stand," Stone said, his hands clasped tightly on the table. "The Council will not protect us. The established powers see us as expendable. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe it's time we reconsidered our position in this galaxy." Chinese Premier Lai Wei nodded slowly. "The Council's inaction is a declaration in itself. They've chosen their side. What are you proposing?" asked European Federation Chancellor Hans Müller. Stone activated a holographic display showing Earth's current military assets, a handful of patrol ships and defensive platforms, all built to Council specifications. "I'm proposing we stop playing by their rules. If they won't give us justice, we'll take it ourselves." Russian President Natasha Volkov leaned forward. "You're talking about war. Against the Krillians, perhaps against the entire Council." "I'm talking about survival," Stone replied. Today it was Andromeda Station. Tomorrow it could be Mars Colony, or Europa Base, or Earth itself. We need to show them that human lives have value, and that there's a price for taking them. The vote was unanimous. Within hours, Earth formally withdrew from the Galactic Council, declaring itself an independent power. The response from the galactic community was swift and predictable. Trade sanctions, travel restrictions, and diplomatic isolation followed immediately. But humanity had already begun to adapt. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, Dr. Elena Petrov stood before a gathering of Earth's brightest scientific minds. The secret facility, codenamed Prometheus Base, had been constructed in record time using mining robots and automated systems. "Ladies and gentlemen," Petrov began, her Russian accent barely detectable after years of international collaboration, "Project Thunderstrike officially begins today. Our mission is simple. Develop weapons that can stand against the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy." She activated a holographic display showing salvaged Krillian technology from previous border skirmishes. "The Council limited our access to advanced military tech, but they couldn't limit human ingenuity. We've spent decades studying their cast-off equipment, their discarded theories. Now we build something better." Teams formed around specific projects. Dr. Kenji Nakamura from Japan led development of a new type of shield generator that could adapt to different weapon frequencies. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo from Nigeria worked on miniaturizing fusion reactors for fighter craft. Dr. Miguel Santos from Brazil focused on artificial intelligence systems for combat coordination. The work was grueling, the pressure immense. They knew that somewhere out there, the Krillians might be planning their next strike. Every day without a breakthrough was another day humanity remained vulnerable. On Luna Colony, Admiral David Kim supervised the construction of humanity's new fleet. The Council had always restricted Earth to light patrol vessels, claiming larger ships were unnecessary for a peaceful member race. Those restrictions no longer applied. "I want every shipyard running at maximum capacity," Kim ordered his staff. "Triple shifts, automated assembly lines, whatever it takes. We're not building pretty ships for diplomatic missions. We're building warships that can take a beating and keep fighting." The designs were uniquely human, combining stolen alien concepts with Earth's own innovations. Where Council ships emphasized elegant curves and energy efficiency, human vessels bristled with armor plating and redundant systems. They weren't pretty, but they were tough. Captain Jessica Martinez commanded one of the first completed destroyers, the UES Vengeance. She ran her crew through endless drills, pushing them to their limits and beyond. "The Krillians have been fighting space battles for thousands of years," she told her officers during a briefing. "We've been at it for decades, but humans have one advantage. We learn fast, and we fight dirty when we have to." The crew practiced unconventional tactics, using asteroids as cover, hiding in planetary rings, coordinating with AI-controlled drone swarms. They studied every recorded battle in Council archives, looking for weaknesses in standard galactic combat doctrine. Meanwhile, Earth's intelligence services went into overdrive. Former Ambassador Rodriguez led a network of human traders and diplomats who remained in Council space. They gathered information, recruited sympathetic aliens, and planted the seeds of doubt about the Council's justice. Many species are unhappy with the status quo, Rodriguez reported during a secure transmission. The Krillians aren't the only ones who abuse their power. The Maltorians, the Vega Confederation, they all use Council authority to bully smaller civilizations. There's potential for allies, if we play this right. 6 months after the Andromeda massacre, humanity's transformation was complete. Hidden shipyards throughout the solar system had produced a fleet of 200 warships. Project Thunderstrike had yielded breakthrough weapons systems that could theoretically match anything in Council space, and humanity's soldiers, driven by grief and determination, had become a fighting force unlike anything Earth had ever fielded. The galaxy still saw Earth as a wounded, isolated world licking its wounds behind hastily erected defenses. They had no idea what was coming. President Stone stood before Earth's combined military leadership in a command center buried beneath Cheyenne Mountain. The holographic display showed the positions of every human ship, every weapon platform, every intelligence asset scattered across known space. The Krillians took 300,000 innocent lives, Stone said quietly. They thought they could do it without consequences because we were weak, because the Council would protect them. They were wrong on both counts. Admiral Kim stepped forward. Mr. President, the fleet is ready. Operation Nightfall can commence on your order. Stone looked around the room at the faces of men and women who had lost friends, family, and colleagues at Andromeda Station. He saw pain transformed into purpose, grief hardened into determination. Send the word to all commands, Stone said. Humanity goes to war. The storm unleashed. The Krillian Empire controlled 73 star systems, ruled from their throne world of Krillia Prime. Their military was considered the strongest in the galaxy after the Council triumvirate races. For 2,000 years, they had expanded their domain through intimidation and selective violence, always careful to maintain the appearance of following Council law. Ambassador Zix Theta sat in his palatial office on Krillia Prime, reviewing reports of Earth's pathetic attempts at military buildup. His forearms moved independently, sorting through diplomatic dispatches while his compound eyes scanned multiple screens. The humans continue their isolation, reported his aide, a younger Krillian with bright green carapace. Our intelligence suggests they've managed to construct perhaps 50 obsolete warships. They're no threat to the Empire. Zix Theta clicked his mandibles in amusement. Of course not. They're primitives playing with technology they don't understand. Let them hide in their system. When the Council finally gives us permission to pacify them properly, it will be over in days. The first sign something was wrong came from a remote monitoring station near the Vega Nebula. The Krillian operators barely had time to register the approaching signatures before human stealth ships destroyed the facility. Similar attacks occurred simultaneously across the Empire's border regions. Communication relays went dark. Sensor platforms disappeared. Patrol ships vanished without sending distress signals. By the time Krillian High Command realized they were under coordinated attack, human forces had already penetrated deep into their territory. The invasion followed no pattern the Krillians recognized. Instead of advancing along established hyperspace routes, human ships appeared seemingly at random, struck critical targets, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Dr. Elena Petrov watched from the bridge of the science vessel Prometheus as her quantum phase torpedoes tore through a Krillian battlecruiser's shields like tissue paper. The weapon she had developed used principles the Council races had dismissed as theoretical impossibilities, manipulating quantum uncertainty to exist in multiple states simultaneously, making traditional shields useless. Direct hit on their power core, reported her weapons officer. Catastrophic chain reaction in progress. The mighty Krillian ship, twice the size of any human vessel, broke apart in a cascade of explosions. Petrov felt no satisfaction, only cold determination. 300,000 ghosts demanded justice. Admiral Kim coordinated the assault from his flagship, the dreadnought UES Retribution. The ship was humanity's masterpiece, a kilometer-long fortress bristling with weapons, powered by 4 fusion reactors, protected by adaptive shields that learned from each attack. Battle Group Alpha, proceed to target Zone 7. Beta Group, maintain pressure on their fleet base at Zorian. Charlie Group, your go for the manufacturing complexes in the Malthus system. The human attack was unlike anything in galactic military history, where traditional space combat involved massive fleets meeting in predetermined battle zones. Humanity fought like ancient Earth guerrillas. Small wolf packs of destroyers would appear, devastate a target, and scatter before the enemy could respond. Eye-controlled drone swarms confused Krillian targeting systems. Human ships used gravity wells to mask their signatures, launched attacks from inside asteroid fields, even emerged from hyperspace inside planetary atmospheres, a maneuver considered suicidal by conventional wisdom. Captain Martinez led her squadron in the assault on Krillia's main shipyard. The facility, a massive structure orbiting a gas giant, could construct a dozen capital ships simultaneously. It was protected by multiple defense platforms and a fleet of guardian vessels. Remember your training, Martinez told her pilots. We're not playing fair. Thunder Squadron, you're on shield disruption. Lightning Squadron, target their point defense systems. Storm Squadron, with me, we're going straight for their construction base. The battle was chaos incarnate. Human fighters, smaller and more maneuverable than anything the Krillians had faced, danced between defensive fire. They deployed electronic warfare packages that drove enemy targeting computers mad, launched micro-missiles that attached to Krillian hulls and burrowed through armor, used coordinated attack patterns that overwhelmed defensive positions. Within an hour, the pride of Krillian shipbuilding was a burning ruin. News of humanity's offensive spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session, the chamber filled with panicked voices. "This is impossible," declared the Zephyrian Triumvir, his energy form flickering with agitation. The humans were a minor race with primitive technology. How are they defeating the Krillians? The Valorian Triumvir's large black eyes showed the first emotion anyone had seen in centuries: fear. We underestimated them. Their rate of technological advancement is unprecedented. We must intervene, insisted the Altarian, his crystalline form resonating with urgency. If humanity defeats the Krillians, the balance of power will shift, interrupted a new voice. The council turned to see Ambassador Rodriguez entering the chamber. She no longer wore the submissive posture of Earth's former representative. Now she stood tall, flanked by human marines in powered armor. "Ambassador, you have no standing here," the Valorian declared. Earth withdrew from the council. Rodriguez smiled coldly. "I'm not here as an ambassador. I'm here as a herald. Humanity has a message for this council." She activated a holographic projector. The image of President Stone appeared, larger than life, his face hard as granite. "Members of the Galactic Council," Stone began, "6 months ago, you stood by and watched as the Krillian Empire murdered 300,000 innocent humans. You called it a closed matter. You showed us that in your eyes, human lives have no value." The president paused, letting his words echo through the silent chamber. "You were wrong. Today, the Krillian Empire burns. Their fleet is scattered, their worlds are under siege, and their mighty military is learning what humans are capable of when pushed too far. But this message isn't about the Krillians. It's about all of you." Murmurs rippled through the assembled representatives. Some shrank back from the projection, while others leaned forward with interest. For too long, this council has allowed the powerful to prey upon the weak. You've turned a blind eye to injustice in the name of stability. That ends now. Humanity offers you a choice. Reform the Council into a body that truly serves all species, or watch as we dismantle your corrupt system piece by piece." The projection flickered in change, showing the burning wreckage of Krillian warships, the liberation of enslaved worlds, the celebration of species freed from Krillian oppression. "We've already begun," Stone continued. 17 species have declared independence from Krillian rule and requested Earth's protection. We've given it gladly. More will follow. The question is, will you adapt to the new reality, or will you force us to teach the same lesson to each of you? The transmission ended, leaving the Council in stunned silence. Rodriguez turned to leave, her Marines falling into step beside her. "Wait," called the Valorian triumvir. "You can't simply." Rodriguez paused at the chamber door. "We can. We have. And if you doubt it, I suggest you contact the Krillian High Command." She smiled grimly. "Oh wait, you can't. We destroyed their communication network 3 hours ago." In the depths of space, the final battle of the Krillian War unfolded above Krillia Prime itself. Admiral Kim had saved this moment for last, gathering the bulk of the human fleet for a decisive strike at the enemy's heart. The Krillians had pulled back their remaining forces to defend their homeworld. 300 warships, orbital defense platforms, and planet-side weapon systems created what they believed was an impregnable fortress. They were wrong. "All ships, execute attack pattern Omega," Kim ordered. "Show them what Earth's children can do." The human fleet didn't charge headlong into the enemy defenses. Instead, they used the system's asteroid belt as cover, launching long-range strikes while constantly moving. Quantum phase torpedoes flickered through shields. Antimatter warheads cracked armor, and railgun slugs moving at relativistic speeds punched through defensive platforms. But the real surprise came from an unexpected quarter. As the space battle raged, liberation forces rose up on dozens of Krillian-occupied worlds. The intelligence network Rodriguez had cultivated bore fruit as resistance movements, armed with human weapons and training, struck at garrison forces across the Empire. On Krillia Prime, Supreme War Master Vexnoth watched his empire crumble on tactical displays. The four-armed warrior had never known defeat in his 3 centuries of life. Now he stood in his command bunker, watching human ships dance through his defenses like ghosts. "War Master," his aide reported, voice trembling, "the humans have breached the inner defense perimeter. They're demanding our surrender." Vexnoth's compound eyes focused on the main screen, where the human dreadnought Retribution approached unopposed. His fleet was gone, his defenses shattered, his subject races in open revolt. The Krillian Empire, master of 73 systems, had been brought to its knees by a race they had dismissed as primitives. "Open a channel," Vexnoth commanded, his voice heavy with defeat. Admiral Kim's face appeared on the screen, calm and implacable. Behind him, the bridge of the Retribution hummed with quiet efficiency. "Supreme War Master," Kim said formally, "I am Admiral David Kim of Earth's United Fleet. Your forces are defeated. Your empire is broken. I offer you terms for surrender." "Speak your terms," Vexnoth replied, his mandibles clicking with suppressed rage. "First, the Krillian Empire will dissolve. All occupied worlds will be granted immediate independence. Second, those responsible for the Andromeda massacre will stand trial for war crimes. Third, Krillia will pay reparations to the families of the victims and to all species harmed by your aggression. Fourth, your military will be reduced to a defensive force only, under international supervision." Vexnoth wanted to refuse to die fighting rather than accept such humiliation. But he looked at his displays, saw his burning ships, his conquered worlds celebrating liberation. His people had a saying: "The wise warrior knows when the battle is lost." "I accept your terms," Vexnoth said, each word tasting like ashes. The aftermath of humanity's victory sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Within days, the Galactic Council announced sweeping reforms. The triumvirate voluntarily stepped down, replaced by a rotating board with representation from all member species. New laws were enacted protecting smaller civilizations from exploitation. A true interstellar court was established to prosecute war crimes and resolve disputes fairly. President Stone addressed the United Nations General Assembly 1 month after Corellia's surrender. The chamber was packed with human leaders and alien dignitaries alike. "We didn't want this war," Stone said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. "We wanted peace, cooperation, a place among the stars. But when our people were murdered and justice was denied, we had a choice: accept our fate as victims, or stand up and forge a new path." He paused, looking out at the assembled faces, human and alien alike. "We chose to stand, not just for ourselves, but for every species that has suffered under the old system. Today, the galaxy is different. Not perfect, but better. More just, more free. And that's just the beginning." The applause started slowly, then built to thunderous intensity. Humans and aliens stood together, united in hope for a better future. In the weeks that followed, Earth found itself at the center of a new galactic order. Dozens of species sought alliance and protection. Former subject races of the Corellians requested membership in what became known as the Terran Commonwealth, a voluntary association based on mutual defense and shared prosperity. Dr. Elena Petrov, now head of the Commonwealth Science Institute, worked alongside researchers from a dozen species. Her quantum phase technology revolutionized not just weapons, but energy production, medical treatment, and space travel itself. Admiral Kim commanded the Commonwealth Defense Force, a multinational fleet dedicated to protecting member worlds and keeping the peace. Human tactical innovations became standard training across the alliance. Ambassador Rodriguez led the diplomatic corps, building bridges between former enemies, mediating disputes, and spreading the principles of justice and equality that humanity had fought to establish. At a ceremony on Luna Colony, the first Commonwealth ship was christened. A joint project between human, Braxian, and Tellurate engineers. The vessel would patrol the Andromeda system, protecting the memorial station built where the original had been destroyed. Captain Martinez, promoted after her heroic service, took command of the memorial garrison. As she stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars, she thought about Commander Sarah Chen and all those lost. "We didn't forget," Martinez whispered, "and we made sure the galaxy won't either." The new Andromeda station was different from the old one. Alongside research labs and living quarters, it housed the Commonwealth Military Academy, where young officers from all member species trained together. It hosted the Interstellar Court of Justice and the Commonwealth Council chambers. Most importantly, it contained a memorial listing every name lost in the massacre, with an eternal flame burning in their honor. Years later, historians would mark the Andromeda Massacre as the event that transformed humanity from a minor spacefaring race into a galactic power. But those who lived through it knew the truth. It wasn't the massacre that changed everything. It was humanity's response. Earth had shown the galaxy what humans were made of. Not just flesh and blood, but determination and justice, ingenuity and courage. They had proven that humans would not go quietly into the night, would not bow to tyranny, would not abandon their principles for the sake of peace. As President Stone had said in his final address before retirement, "We reached for the stars seeking friends. We found some. We also found enemies, injustice, and cruelty. But in facing those challenges, we discovered something more important. We found ourselves. And in doing so, we helped the galaxy find its better nature too." The age of human expansion had begun, not through conquest, but through example, not by subjugating others, but by liberating them. Not by perpetuating the old cycles of power and oppression, but by breaking them forever. In the end, Earth's brutal revenge had shocked the Galactic Council indeed, not just with its military might, but with its vision for a better tomorrow. And that perhaps was humanity's greatest victory of all.